Hello there, iljaTech here, and I would like to welcome you to a new episode of iljaTech Progress and Perspectives. And in the last episode, we added these ores to the world, and in this episode, the plan is to add some technology into the mod. Now, the technology in the mod is going to be powered by several types of energy: electrical, mechanical, and heat or steam energy. The electrical and heat and steam are a bit difficult to add, so today I'm going to add mechanical energy. Of course, there already exist other mods which had a comparable concept and also add mechanical energy to the game. Here you see the Better with Mods mod and the very popular Create mod, both of which add some kind of mechanical energy. However, in my mod, the idea is to make a much simpler system. Now here's a little concept art I did for two components of this new system, the crank and the gearbox, and these are the two things that I'm gonna be adding in today's episode. The gearboxes will be to transfer the mechanical energy, and the crank, which I'm designing the item sprite for right now, will be to generate mechanical energy from a player input. Now that item texture is done, it's time to look at the block model. So I'm creating my block model in the Blockbench program. It's a very simple shape on which I've just slapped a simple plank texture with the stick color palette. And the idea is that you will be able to rotate it around just like so. So here we go, the crank is added into the game. And I don't want to bore you guys with the details, so I'm not sure how much coding I should show. But how this works is that you have a Java class where you can define the properties of the block and program how and when they should change. For example, here I've programmed that the rotation should increment by 1 every time you use the block. And then you can have different block models and a block state JSON file that kind of controls which model should be shown for which combination of properties. Now it's time to start adding the gearbox, and in the meanwhile I would like to talk about the mechanical energy system. As I said, it's going to be a very simple system, but just how simple is it going to be? Well, there's just going to be a number between 0 and 16, but most of the machines are only going to care about if it's on or off. So it's similar to Redstone in that way. But gameplay-wise, the main difference between this system and Redstone is going to be that a player requires a bit more effort to generate this energy. For example, the player might have to continuously manually rotate this crank, or the player might have to make steam to drive a turbine that creates the energy. So as you see here, the gearbox have one specific side where you can input the mechanical energy from, and the other 5 sides are for output. And you can chain them together and it will slowly transfer it down the line. Now, as I said, the gearbox have 5 output sides, so you can also go around the corner and output to that side, or you can branch off and output to 2 sides at once. Then the power will be split in half over both of those paths. So the 4 output energy from the crank is split in half, which means both branches get 2 energy. And the idea is that most machines will just run on a 1 energy because they only care if the energy is on or off, similar like Redstone. Then it means that you can power 4 machines with 1 hand crank. So how the splitting works is that first a list is created of all the directions to what the gearbox can output. Then, if that list is not empty, there's at least 1 output direction for the gearbox, and it splits the power in by dividing the current power by the number of outputs and taking the floor. So this means that if you have 4 power over 3 different output directions, you would get 1.333, but because you take the floor, it becomes 1, which is a nice round number, and then all of the different outputs get 1 power. Then when there's more than 0 power to output, it will output that power to each of the directions that it collected beforehand. But if it was the end of the line and there were not any output directions, the stop will be scheduled. So for the rest of the video, I have some demonstrative examples. Here you can see what happens if you split the 4 power in 3. And here you can see what happens if you split it in 5. And 4 divided by 5 is less than 1, so all of these branches get 0 power. And another funny thing what you can do, which is kinda intended, is you can make these rings to kind of trap the power. This is because the delay that's in the power. And this way you can store power. And the system doesn't need a separate power storage block because players can just build their own power storage with these kind of rings. Now, one design principle that I had with these gearboxes is that I wanted them to be full blocks which can really interact with redstone and be pushed by pistons, so that players could design their own like a clutch system with the redstone knowledge that they have. So if you let this power be transferred through the line, but then you interrupt the line, the power will not continue anymore. However, the gearbox gets kind of bugged out, and when you push it while it's spinning, it will just stay spinning forever. And so I will have to look at that and maybe detect when it gets pushed and then always turn it off or something like that, but it's a bit of a problem. So I hope you found my explanations interesting. And if you have any feedback for this system, please let me know. I'm very open to getting feedback. Anyways, this is the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.